BMX Lunch with Legends. Dale Holmes is here. Love him to death. The guy is so deep into BMX, you have no idea. British Hall of Fame, BMX Weekly podcast, his camps.
BMX Pro for a week.
BMX Pro for a week. And I've been trying to get some tips from him because he is so badass. And he doesn't claim he is. I want to be as fast as him. He's one of the guys I idolize in my humongous comeback. Kevin Dunsmore, what's going on? So, Dale Holmes is here today. I love him. We're going to go through the whole spiel. How do you grow up in another country and then you come over to America, you get a Justin Shepard, old school, when you get a factory ride. He lived the dream. I'm telling you. I went from Jersey to Cali. He went from England to the US and got on GT and kicked ass, won a world title. Let's talk about it. Here we go, Lunch with Legends. Dale Holmes. What's up, Dale? Welcome to the show, sir.
Thanks for dropping by Camp John.
Yeah, no problem. It's usually a Lunch with Legends, but hey, we're here at San Diego BMX, Kearny Mesa for the old schoolers. It's beautiful. I've never been here, and I'm going to take a walk on the track. Thanks for having me. This is amazing. This is a good Lunch with Legends, even though we're not eating. We'll figure it out later. So I always start the show with this. Tell me the very first bike you ever had, your first recollection of a bike. It doesn't even have to be BMX.
Oh, we had kind of road bikes with long handlebars. They were called cow horns. Kind of like your tracker bike, I think.
Okay.
They were what the older guys rode. I think I had a small version of that. And then, oh my God, I had a bike called a budgie. That was before BMX.
The budgies?
Just like little kid bikes, you know. And
the budgies were pretty popular.
Yeah. We lived near Raleigh, and my Raleigh factory is, my mother worked for those, and the factory is in Nottingham in England, and we just live outside Nottingham, just outside.
So how about
the city.
this? Your mom was factory.
Yeah, no, she really was. Yeah. She was there in the 70s, so a lot of rally bikes to start with, which then led to when BMX came around, and it was Rally's first kind of prototype BMX, and it was called a Rally Supercross. And then right after that, they did their first line of bikes, which was called a burner. So it was kind of the pre-burner. Then they made them in all different levels of bikes.
So they had a bike called the Supercross before the Supercross.
Yes, really did. Yeah, that was 1981.
And was that before Supercross in America? No.
It's got to be.
It's got to be, right?
Yeah, 81.
Holy cow.
Yeah, Rally Supercross.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So that was first BMX, and then I got on a local bike shop team in Nottingham. It was called Bunny's Bikes, which is still going today.
Wow.
And they was a distribution for GT, and so the team was Bunny's GT, and my first sponsorship was uniform, aero pants,
nice.
And GT frame and forks, and that's where it started,
So you were GT before you were GT.
Yeah.
Well, did you like the GT bike?
I loved it, yeah. I can't remember which one it was. One of the smaller ones, I had 1 3/8 wheels and even 1 1/8 rims. I mean, this is when I'm 11, 12, and I was small for my size.
Wow.
So yeah, rode for Bunnies for a couple of years, I think, and then in about 83 was my first full year on Bunnies. So I did 83, 84. Started to get top threes in nationals by the end of 83.
How did you get to, before we go crazy, how did you get to your first race? Like, was it a neighborhood kid that brought you, which is most of the stories?
I think somebody at school showed up with a magazine, and that was it.
Do you remember the magazine?
Yes.
You got a great memory.
Yeah. BMX Official. Yeah, they only made 6 issues, which then turned into a magazine called BMX Action Bike, which is more, well known now. But the real diehards, British, guys from the early days will know. I still forget it's Official BMX or BMX Official. We made some T-shirts and logos and stuff just for fun. So I think I saw that copy at school, and then I don't know how or what, but we went to watch a local state race, regional, they're called. And then we watched that, and then we found out about a track at Nottingham, like where Raleigh was.
Yeah.
And we did a couple local races. It was in about the end of '82.
Wow.
Mid to end of '82, and then just all in for '83, and that was it. Yeah, still here since.
So I know everybody knows the heroes over there for sure. Tim and Andy, and who was your first, like, I want to be like that guy? Who was your first hero?
You know, it wasn't really the older, you know, they weren't even pros then, but the older experts, obviously, like I said, Tim and Andy, they weren't the guys. I was more just like the guys in my age group that were factory.
Okay,
You know,
who would that have been?
There was a guy called Andy Oldham who was Rally Factory. He was on the Rally Factory team.
With your mom?
Yeah. She probably might have even wrote. My mom was in the offices there, so she might have wrote his contract out or something. Andy Oldham, and then there was a guy called Damien Miles. He was Hutch, and then he was Factory Mongoose after that. Fortunately, passed away many years ago. So there was those two were really up there, and then there's Alan Woods, who's still, you know, distribution and still involved in BMX, the godfather of British BMX, we call him. Alan Woods had a Talker team and a Robinson team. He came out here and hooked up with them guys and started teams there. So there's a couple of guys in my age group. Darren Page was one guy's name on Talker, and again, unfortunately passed away. And a guy called Darren Nelson. So it was like the top three, you know, the top 5 ranking in my age groups. A guy called Darren Mills. So I was very inspired by them guys and seen them in the magazines, the early magazines, and I wanted to be in the mix with those guys, and in the next couple of years I kind of did. Yeah.
So who did you come up? Was Clive back around then?
Clive was around, but he was in London, so I didn't know Clive then. We were still on the same path.
Paul, all those guys?
All them guys were on the same path, but they were 2 hours away in London.
Okay.
So in '83, I would have probably come across some of those guys.
Nice.
In nationals. By '84, everybody knew everybody then. Yeah. So I knew Clive and Paul by then was on the circuit fully.
Because a lot of you guys came to California. I hung with Clive all the time. Paul was always around, and it's interesting to know that who would have been the first guy. Well, we're jumping ahead, but we're always circle around. Who would have been the first guy to go, I'm going to the States, I'm doing this?
There's a lot of guys. Alan Woods, who I've already mentioned, he, like I said, he came out here and hooked up with, you know, distributions and stuff. He went back and set up Talker team, the Robinson team, you know. So Alan was one of the first guys. There's a guy called Steve Grattan, who was actually a skateboard, top skateboarder at the time. Jumped into BMX, and he battled with Tim and those first couple of years. Yeah, he was national number 2. Rode for a team called Cobra. I know he went to the States. There's a lot of guys that you're not familiar with that went there, and I'm still finding out now. You know, guys are like, well, I was there in '80 and '81.
Because as people know, Dale runs the British Hall of Fame, BMX Hall of Fame. So, and I'm running the New Jersey one. So we talk a lot. You're always going to find a guy like, oh, you're the dude. I'm so sorry.
That's why I love doing it, because I love learning new stuff. One of the main guys who was early guys into the US was a guy called Malcolm Jarvis, who came over in, because I've got the video, I posted it, he gave me all the footage. I think he came around 80-ish without looking at anything. And he hooked up with Skip Hess and Mongoose, and he came back and then built the big distribution called Amico Mongoose, and that's when he set up the Mongoose team, built the first track in England, and that's kind of the first UK dream team was Amico Mongoose, with Ruffle and Tim and Craig Schofield and so many great names were on that team, you know. So that was probably there's a lot of people that came out here, like I say, those early years.
I think my fascination with this interview is going to be myself also learning about the British invasion and who came over, but we got to focus on your career, because you were one of those guys. So your first race, what was going through your mind? What was BMX like for you the first time?
It's hard to remember. I remember.
You got a great memory.
I think it was to get a trophy. You know, you only got top 3 got trophies in the UK, and I think I wanted to get a trophy. I got 4th. But I think it still motivated me, had fun, and then came back and started getting 2nds and 3rds locally at Nottingham. And that was it. Then started to make friends, and just the same story that we all got, you know. It just kind of takes over your life, takes over, you know, whether they wanted or not, the parents' lives, you know. But it was fun for my mum and dad. We had a great local scene in Nottingham. There's 2 cities where I live, Nottingham and Derby. Both had a BMX, you know, we're both involved in BMX in the early days, and we lived right in the middle, so we could. We had 2 scenes really. We had the Derby scene and the Nottingham scene, and so it was social for all of us. And my mum and dad, you know, until I could drive, drove us all around the UK every weekend, all through the winter, racing in the snow, rain, and it didn't matter. And then it started, you know, by the mid-'80s we were driving all around Europe as well, doing all the European stuff as well. Nice. So got a lot covered.
How were those tracks when you first started?
BMX tracks, I mean, a lot of the time it was just like, you know, kind of what you guys just like put the dirt upside down and
Yep.
build a berm, and we were like still learning, obviously way behind America and during the early 80s. So yeah, a lot of homemade. We raced on farms. I remember racing on a farm.
What's up, Curtis? Curtis Bland.
We would race anywhere behind leisure centers where people would build tracks. A lot of homemade, you know, kind of like what you guys did really, but a little bit after, you know. But obviously our dirt is not like this, you know, sandy and dusty. We was literally racing on mud, and then obviously add in the rain and mud. We got tracks where we ran our bikes around.
Oh,
you know?
nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
you know, snow, rain. That's all we knew, you know, and we loved it.
And so I always talk about your knowledge, and I think your magazine knowledge is similar to mine. It's like, I remember this guy's brake lever. So we had access to, like, if we go to this national, we're going to see Stu and Greg and Pete and all these people. But the Kellogg series was your, like, Disney World, because they came to you for Kellogg's, right?
Yes.
So that was your, like...
Yes. That was the first time our first sighting, at least on TV video, was the Jag World Championships. We got that, the Rennie Roca Tropicana Hotel, '82.
Yeah.
You know, the one with Greg and Stu on the gate. You know, Anthony Sewell, Pro Cruiser, and then, you know, Billy Griggs on CW, pedaling in the air, and
Farside.
Richie Anderson, Rich Farside. Yeah, that 14 and the Trophy Dash with Richie, Mike Paulson. Anyway, that was our probably first video we've seen of American riders, alongside what we've seen in the mags. So we got a couple of the Rennie Roca races, but the first, for me, visual of seeing American, 83 would have been 83, the Skyway World Tour. So Andy Patterson came out, and he spent quite a bit of time in Europe. He'd already won the European Championships in '82, Beacon Don Holland. He came back with Skyway, and I think they did a world tour, but they did a big part in Europe. So it was Andy Patterson, Mike
Salito. Maybe.
I don't know if Mike Salito, I know Mike Salito was, I don't think he came, but there was Andy Patterson, then the UK Skyway guys, and Bob Madrano came out as well.
Wow.
Yeah, and there's some great magazine photos of Bob Madrano. They did a tour, they came to Nottingham and did a demo, and there's loads of footage of them guys from their time in the UK, so it was probably Andy Patterson. And then they all came out again later for the first Kellogg's, which was, you know, '84. That was really probably seeing them all lined up on the gate and stuff. We missed school and went to watch the first Kellogg's.
Nice.
And then '85 they all came back again, you know. So yeah, it's amazing.
Andy, because Andy he always comes to Dirty Fest. I love hanging out with him. He's awesome. Andy, even at Clive, hanging with him, Andy was your guys' like, he had such a following in England. And to this day, I saw how all you guys when you came to Dirty Fest.
First time I tripped when I seen him. Yeah.
All you guys were following him around Dirty Fest like he was your dude. Because he was. He's one of the first megastars in England.
He was in all the magazines, covers, and it just style mags, you know, graphite wheels, and you know, it was a big head-to-head between him and Tim March at the '83 European Championships. Was held over 2 rounds. First round in Birmingham, second round in Dijon, France, and it was like the big between those two, but Andy kind of left him in his dirt, you know. It was like Tim was the main guy in Europe, but Andy Patterson was probably another level, you know. And then obviously went on to do good at the Worlds that year in Slagaren, you know, and Miller and Hill and all those guys. I think Patterson won Pro Open. Yeah.
Do you remember your first autograph?
Probably would have been him.
Nice.
Yeah.
Andy Patterson is the king of England.
Yeah, I've got 1985. We started to get, you know, let's say we went to the Kellogg's. My sister was racing the Kellogg's.
I met a sister, very nice.
Yeah, she's out here at camp this week with her son. It would have probably been the Kellogg's, and I still got some scraps of paper with sign-ins, and we got a lot of the autographs. And I'm just thinking now, '84, CW team came out to the UK, so
Jared came out, right?
Yeah, Jared. I was watching that last week
right?
on Dirty Knobs. He came out. Pistol. They did a tour, but I went to the national. They was all out, and there was a guy called Aaron Sally.
Yes.
And he raced in the age group below me and my sister. I was just talking to my sister about it a couple of days ago. My sister got his number plate.
Oh,
so
cool.
we had Aaron Sally's number plate for a long time.
That's amazing.
So it's probably them guys were early guys.
So when these guys come over, you know, you're odd, but you also have to be, you know, on top of your game. Were you always trying to be competitive with them, or see where you stood in the big picture? you know,
Well,
get on the gate next to somebody. I mean, God bless you for getting on the gate next to Pete. That must have been
Yeah,
murderous.
I mean, by the time they came out, I was only 12. You know? So
shit,
yeah, I
okay,
never
yeah.
got to
I keep thinking you're much younger than I am. I
Yeah.
never forget that.
I was still a young amateur, so I never got to race an American until the 1986 World Championships in Slough, England was the first time, and
nice.
and we were all excited. Like I said, we'd seen the American pros a few times, but we were excited to see some of these American amateurs come over. You know, so it was the first sighting of Eric Carter on Hutch.
Yeah.
You know, there was Brad Birdwell on Murray, and the first guy I raced with, and still friends with him today, was Shan Hatfield. Yeah, we were in the same class, and we were in a lot of the races together. So Shan was probably the first American guy I raced with, and was similar kind of level. I think we battled throughout the weekend in mid-pack, you know, cruiser, 20-inch, and that. But I think Eric Carter left a big impression, not just on me watching him at Slough. 86, he was 16 expert, was just the way he won. You know, the Eric Carter just passing people.
So here's my Carter.
Yeah.
This is my Carter story. So first time I ever come to California is Bakersfield, 1987.
Yeah.
And Carter's there in CW, and I'm standing in the berm, and I heard a towel rip. And I go, who's ripping a towel? Carter was carving the berm.
Oh wow!
So hard, it sounded like a towel ripping. I go, he's a god. He's a cornering god. And then I actually met him that night, and I've been great friends with him ever since. I love him. He's great.
He left a mark on a lot of us. Like I say, even though the American pros were there, Tommy Bracken's won pro. You know, Hill was there, Sean Texas was there, Eddie King, Miranda. But I think for all my friends, the English and the Europeans, it was watching Eric Carter.
Something that was in your sights.
A couple of years above, and the way he won both mains, and Cully as well. Cully was there. No
gloves.
He had to. In Europe, you had to. Cully was on Kuara, and I've got the videos, and I've watched it a billion times. Cully's winning cruiser, and on Kuara, and Carter passes him down the last straight.
Imagine that.
And then in 20-inch, a guy called one of my friends from Holland, Mark Van Drill, was winning, and Carter gets him on the second turn. So that was very inspiring to see that. Yeah, really.
Amazing.
Yeah. Townsend was there as well, an amateur 18 and over. TC on Murray.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so a lot of those amateurs stood out a lot to us as much as the pros.
It's like they were just out of reach, you know. You look at Pete and Greg at that time, and you're like, how am I ever gonna?
Well, they were like men, you know. You know, mustaches,
exactly.
and Gary was there as well, obviously.
With a mustache at 10.
Yeah. And I think the amateurs for me were always very inspiring. Even watching, you know, the next couple of years, we got video footage of the 87 Worlds in Orlando, the Murray World Cup in Irvine. So we idolized a lot of the people on that, you know.
Yeah, I came out right after the Irvine World Cup. I moved to California, and I drove there. Like, probably the first day I got here, I gotta go see those doubles. And I drove there, and I ended up jumping the things, which to me was like, how?
They look huge on the video.
Oh, they're ridiculous. Yeah. But that was a gold. I got to get there. I got to look at these things, and I got to do this because it was so mind blowing to me. One of the
I never went to look. Well, I came to stay with Pete in this is jumping forward. In '93, I stayed with Pete in Irvine. In '93, and the first thing I said, show me where this Murray World Cup track was, and I think it was already done by then.
Okay.
You know,
and then when I did the Lopes Lunch with Legends, we ate at a restaurant that was on the grounds of that track.
Okay.
Yeah, he goes, you feel weird? I look around like, why? He goes, you're at the Irvine track. I'm like, no way. So that was actually really cool.
And Lopes, he was inspiring as well, because we're same age, literally. I think we were like a month apart, and seeing him on those videos, and
you know, just a little kid just tracking people.
Yeah, so that he was very inspiring, and still is today, really. I mean, for everybody, you know.
Yeah, he's still going strong. So when do you think, okay, now I'm in the hunt to be? When do you look at yourself and go, I'm going to be a world champ one day? Like, what in your mind goes, I think I can do this?
It took a while. I think there's never like a long-term plan. I was just like all of us, just living week to week, just loving BMX and getting confidence as I got better. You know, I started winning nationals in 85 with 13, 14, you know, so say 13, 14, 15, I kind of worked out how to win nationals and battled for British titles with Neil Wood, who was same age. We battled since 12. Another guy called Anthony House, who rode for Tim March. There's a lot of good guys in my class as amateur, and there was never really any like long-term, like this is what happens, you know. There was no pro class, you know, until 85 in the UK.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so there was never really long-term plan. And I got to 16, 16, I turned super class, which was pro. Pro class had ended, and there was a super class, which was like B pro. So it all merged into one called super class, and that's the same thing you'd race in Europe.
That's Xavier Edouard.
Yeah, I raced.
Right? Yeah.
I turned as soon as I could, 16.
Nice.
And those guys were all, racing them guys were all a couple of years.
They were men.
Yeah, they were men. Yeah. So I could I did that for a couple of years. Till I came out here. But anyway, super class was top 3 guy. Won a title the next year. A lot of good guys. Tom Lynch. Obviously Neil. We took that amateur battle into super class. A guy called Andy Welsh. There's a could name 5 or 10 guys.
So you're starting to see like there's something I put my time in, and I'm starting to feel like I can.
We could make okay money in the UK then, but then this is the end of the 80s, and like here, but obviously even less. The sponsors had all disappeared. A sponsorship for us was a bike and uniform, nothing else. So I was making enough just to get through. I just left school, just enough to have a car and save a little money and travel, but there's no still not even then to turn pro until 91. I got on MCS Europe, which was run by the godfather of European BMX, Gerrit Doos.
Yeah.
We all love. I got on Gerrit's team, and that was basically, I was riding for Elf in the UK at the time, and Christoph was on MCS Europe, and he just came out of nowhere, got on MCS Europe, and just inspired everybody.
Yeah.
He was a little bit younger than us, a couple of years younger, and I came out from watching him for the first time in Holland, and I said I need to be on the same team as him, and I need that same bike, I need the same Fred Z bars. So I got on MCS
I love
Europe.
Fred Z bars.
Yeah, that was the look then. DK stem, Fred Z bars, seat low but tilted up.
Yeah.
So I got on MCS Europe, and then Gerrit took us basically in 91, I think it was, to the Christmas Classic. We did a week in Florida, 2 weeks in Florida, then we raced the Christmas Classic, and that was the first real race in the US.
When you grow up on the East Coast and the Christmas Classic is you're finally going to get out of the snow.
Yeah.
I left my house in New Jersey and drove through so much snow, and then you get there and you're like, this is paradise. But you hadn't trained, because I used to do sprints in a horse barn.
Hard at that time.
But all the West Coast guys come in, and they're, about bad weather. And then the West Coast guys come in, and you're like, oh man, they've been racing orange 3 nights away. And Christmas Classic was such a cool race.
I loved it. My friend Paul Roberts, Grotbags, a lot of you guys know. Lives in Huntington Beach, legend in his own self, just a great guy, one of my best friends. So he came with me anyway, and we said it numerous times, we just couldn't sleep at night. We were so excited to be in America. So we did that 2-week trip, and then went back home, and then it was back to working a little bit. No real money, sponsorship, or there's still no path. Raving, dance, techno raving had just blown up. I'm 18, 19, and so I want to do that as well. So there's still no real aspiration to be pro, even though I was inspired in the US.
How did you do at the Christmas Classic?
I raced Superclass. Yeah, I made.
Is that the Lions posted those things?
Yes, yeah. I got third one day. I made the main the other day, and I made, which I was really excited. I made Pro Open.
Wow.
The first day, yeah, and which was pretty cool. I mean, everybody was in it. It was a legit Pro Open main. And the guys I raced in Superclass, it was Basta Beaver, because he was on that trip.
Love him.
Barry McManus, a guy called Rainer Matthews.
Yeah, I remember Rainer.
He was
from
really
Maryland.
Fast. I think he won one day.
He was on Boss at the time, wasn't he?
Yeah, big strong guy.
Yeah.
There was him, and then BJ Gant, Wildman. So and a bunch of the Europeans that all came out on this trip. So it was a good class, yeah. And
Would that have been your first time meeting the illustrious Todd Lyons?
It was. He stayed in our room. Say, me and Paul met him in the lobby a couple of days before the race.
Yeah, I used to handwrite letters to him. What race are you going to? Put
Right.
it in the mail. Who knows how long it took? He'd write back, and we were.
Yeah, I became pen friends with him as well. I think he must have wrote to everybody, right?
Of course, he had the journal every night. And,
Yeah.
He actually ran my trolling Nora Cup sticker one time. We got in the magazine.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, he's.
I know you got your own stories with him, obviously POW, right?
Yeah, they're not for time. Time's not.
Right.
For another time.
Yeah.
So you go back to England. Do you feel like energized? I know you're not a guy that's ever like.
No, I was into it, and the first thing was like, let's get back out there, me and Paul, and then we went into our own season, and then, like I say, the rave thing just blew up in England, and I kind of fell that way. The next winter, it was always like, we go back next winter and see if we can stay a little bit longer, maybe make it to California, but at the same time, Dylan Clayton and Jamie Staff were a little bit younger than me. They were coming up as well, and I'd already between me and Neil and a couple guys, you could party, ride your bike a couple of times a week and go to the races and still do good. But
Yeah.
we saw these guys coming.
Neil Master.
So the next winter, yeah, Neil definitely. The next winter, I went. You know, it was like, do we go to America? I don't know. I stayed home and went raving, and then Jamie, Dylan, and Paul Grotbugs, they went back again, and they kind of chased it a little bit before me. They came back to England, and Jamie kicked my butt. You know, it's like I got back into racing, and so I was still fighting the party in, and you know,
Imagine
just take
that,
it serious.
Like if you would have, it's just not your personality, but if you
Yeah.
would have dove in head first, what would have happened? Right?
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
you were doing well at that time.
Yeah, no, it was definitely, and I didn't like Jamie, you know, beating me, but he put his time in. He came out here for 3 months, and I was barely on my bike and just having fun at the weekends. So it was kind of like that for a few years, really. It was flip-flopping, coming out for a few months. A little bit after that, 92, 93, got on GT Europe first.
What's up, Robert? How are you? Good to see you. Robert Cardoza's watching.
Hey, Robert.
So you got support, kind of a support GT thing.
Yeah, Garrett, who'd done the European MCS team, he then took over GT Europe and started to build a GT European team. Minosi was on it.
That's my old roommate.
Yeah, great guy, super fast.
Speaking about going to race, Minosi.
Yeah, he was, you know, he was just a little bit before Christoph, like he was the top guy in Europe. Yeah, European champion, and then he came out here and did good. So Minosi was on the team, a guy called Frank Briggs from Germany, Robert Sprocco, Corey Dolan that won a handful of world titles then. We had a really good team, and I just kind of grew on that team. It was still only a small deal. Started coming to the US, you know, again during the winters, 93, 94, turned AA. That's when I came out and stayed with Pistol for 3 months at the...
Yeah, you turned AA, then you hang with Pistol.
I turned AA while I was with him, yeah.
So good, right? That's a cool person to hang with.
I basically came out to the 93 Grands. I did the 80. I did the 92 Grands, and got second behind in a pro behind Bubba McIntosh was in it, behind Galen Starlin. The next year I came back again and I stayed 8th, but I just flew out from England. I made like a financial goal with me, like if I can come out, win a pro, pay for everything and go home just within a week, then it's been worth it. And I did. I came out, I won a pro. I think I made $1,000, paid for my ticket, got to go to the mall on Monday after the race, and then flew home, and then, you know, and then raced in Europe for another year. And then during that week in the Grands, I think I'd talked to Pistol before that, and I said, I'd love to come back and stuff. And he's like, you can come stay with me in Irvine. So I wrote Pistol a letter. I'm like, hey, I'd really like to come.
Wow. I
don't think he wrote me back, but he did say at the Grands, you know, here's my address and that. You know, I'll meet you, whatever. And I think I called him early January. I'm like, hey, I'm going to come. And I show up at LA airport early January 94, and nobody's there. I go to his house, knock on the door, and nobody's there.
No.
And
I've never heard this story.
Yeah,
This is epic.
and again, this is like, I was super like young and anyway, so I go around the back anyway. They're all hanging out in the back. So I stayed with Pistol. His roommates were a car salesman. Do you know all these guys? There was Skura.
Yeah, of course.
The younger one.
Will. No, I think it's Skirto.
Not Brian.
Yeah, he worked with.
He was so funny. Lots of hair.
Yeah, it was Brian's brother.
Brian's younger brother. Anyway, so it was him, and then there was another guy, a private investigator called Dave.
So
anyway, so I stayed with them, and I had so much fun. Yeah.
Judd Ciancio's watching. Judd, loved the Dirty Knobs that you did. Amazing.
Yeah,
Thanks for joining us. Yeah, it was amazing. You're a great storyteller, Judd.
Frank Skura.
Yeah.
He was
great.
so funny. Just girls and like I like watching him, and Pistol was then single at the time. You know, just like, wow, this is how you do it.
This
you know,
this is galley style.
Yeah,
right
so I was really getting a clinic on, you know, that as well. And Pistol was just transferring over into mountain biking. He was on Pogprix.
Yeah.
So I did one race A Pro out there, and then I turned AA. It was my first race while I was staying at Pete's house in Texas. I flew out to Texas, and I got second behind Lopes. I got second in A Pro on Saturday, turned AA on Sunday, and I got second behind Lopes.
That's pretty big. You should just say it like that. You should say that. That is an absolute.
I always make sure I say who won, because that's that's
huge.
Yeah.
I mean, I can remember Mikey doing it where he won and then turned and won again the next day. I think.
I won Pro Open over the same day.
Wow.
And then the next race was my last race before I went back to Europe was NorCal, Madeira, I can't remember, Madeiras or anyway, it's a NorCal, you know, SoCal National, like a big national, everyone's there, and I got first in AA, so it was amazing. Yeah. Billy should have won. Billy got 116, Billy Griggs.
Yeah.
And I got like 2-3, and I think Billy hit the gate in the last main or something, and I think I got 2-3 or something like that. But it was just enough to get the win, and then so I won that, and then I went back and raced in Europe for a year. And
so what happens when you come back to Europe after you kicked ass over
no,
there?
that's the thing, you didn't, you know. Even in years later when I lived fully in the US, I'd go back and do certain European races, and I remember, I think it was 96, 97, 98, I tripled at NBL National at Prim. Tripled one day, and I think I got a couple seconds the day before.
Wow.
And then I'm like, and everybody was there. And I went back to Europe the following weekend for European Championships. I'm like, it's going to be easy. Quarters both days, you know.
No.
So there's all, yeah, it's just different racing, you know, different guys, different racing. So it was never easy in England, and it was never easy in Europe. So, you know, a lot of people always think Christoph, but there was so many other good guys as well. There was a guy called Wilco Grunendal from Holland, just super fast, and he beat Christoph as much as Christoph beat him. So you'd have like Wilco, Christoph, Bastardiever, and then a little tier under that, you would have Jamie Staff, me, a guy called Rob Bolton, another 3 or 4 guys.
Yeah.
So there's like 2 or 3 tiers, and so even to make a European main in Superclass was really hard. Yeah, a lot of fast guys, and then like say Xavier, Claude, or you know, a lot of the guys that have been around a long time, Phil Hugendorf. So always hard in Europe, always.
Yeah, and you're talking about, I'm an obsessed BMX freak, but most people I haven't heard of. So these are just...
Well, these guys never came to the US, you know, but they, when the Americans visited Europe, you know, held their own against them,
That's
you know.
great. That's
so it's not, it's like, just because they didn't come to the US didn't mean there's a lot of fast guys out there, you know, that just didn't have the opportunity or, you know, just didn't want to come.
So you were we left where you were co-GT, and then when did you get the big deal?
It was well, anyway, during
how did that go down? I'm very interested.
During that period of turning AA 94, they started giving a bit more support over here, where, hey, do you want to stay with us at the race? Here's some wheels and stuff, but it was still like a really small deal. And then in Europe, it was a better, GT had a different budget for Europe, so they're like, here's $10,000. You know, go wherever you want. This is to help you with wherever you go. And when they're in the US, we'll do more for you, which they started to do. And then in 1996, I was still on GT Europe, starting to bank money, you know, racing in Europe, and all my expenses were taken care of then, and started to get bonuses and stuff. And then in 96, won the World Championships in Brighton, England, and then that was where I have to go to America now. I still hadn't decided if I wanted to be there or not. I'd always go there, come home, and I was still really living in England. And then in 96, I'm like, I need to go to the US and stick with it. And came out to the US a couple of weeks after the Worlds, and it was amazing. Yeah,
that's amazing.
It was great. I went down. And I think Rich Long might have just passed away around that time.
Oh wow, okay.
So I went.
I remember the day.
Yeah, it was right around that time. So I never got to meet him.
Never showed up.
Yeah, I never got to meet him really. And
no way.
And came down. So whoever taken over after that, I can't remember. But anyway, that's when I got my first contract. TC was involved. A European guy that helped me a lot on my GT career was a guy called John Holcomb, who was in charge of GT in Europe. He just made the transfer. He was American, but he was placed.
I remember John. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a little guy. He was placed in Europe to handle all GT. And that's when GT was huge in Europe.
So you came back to the States with a rainbow jersey.
Yeah.
That's you don't even feel pressure. I don't even say there's pressure.
And I wasn't like I'm the man or anything. I'm like I still want to make mains if I can get top 3, and that was good. And they gave me a contract, and I even said then to GT, I still don't know if I can commit to living here. They're like, do whatever you want. Get an apartment here. We'll pay you. Go race in Europe.
Stay at the POW house.
Yeah. I think that it was the Huntington Beach house then.
Yeah.
So I did stay there with Neil, and then we ended up getting an apartment. But I still went back to Europe for 3 or 4 months in the summer, and I would do any race outside. You know, there's a good race in Australia or a World Cup or something. I'd race everywhere. They sent me wherever I wanted to go. So I was really lucky. Yeah, and the first time with a contract and salary and bonuses, and like this is great.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was really.
That's what I remember the most was that era. Like just that's badass. So what? So tell me the next step after that.
Well, so I'm 2 years with GT, and for me, like I say,
James Vicente's watching.
Hi, James.
Hey, James. Great, you guys are killing it over there, Dirty Knobs. You're killing it. That East Coast show was amazing. Go check it out if you were watching this one.
Yeah, it really was. I listened to it.
It was amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing.
I love listening and learning new stuff. But I disagreed. I put it on the thread. They said Eric Cardiff is a 10-man race.
Yeah. What is your thoughts on that?
He would have passed 2 people, right? I don't know which 2, but he would have, right?
You hear that, James? Still, after that show, there's still talk in the community.
Yeah.
So you get the world title, then you're full factory GT, the firm at that point. Correct?
Yeah,
that's a good position to be in.
I was traveling, in a rent-a-car with Charles and Gary, and it was nerve-wracking the first time I stayed in a room with Ellis. Gary's he's quiet, and I remember the first time it was just like me and Gary in a room together. I still hadn't really hung out properly with him or anything.
Yeah.
I was still very nervous around him, and they put me in a room with Gary, and Gary wasn't racing this particular race, but he was there to sign autographs or something.
Yeah.
And I remember I got to the room before him, and he came in late, and I pretended I was asleep. I didn't know what I was going to say to him or anything, So, so that was cool. And then I got more confidence being around those guys, in the jokes and all that stuff. But I always felt a little bit,
but
it's intimidating around those guys.
There's got to be some pressure.
Yeah,
right?
no, it
Because
is.
Ellis goes out and wins, and you're like, oh, okay, I guess I gotta.
It is, yeah. You could get for me, all the way through my American career, 3rds and 4ths, no problem. 3rd, 4th in AA, maybe odd pro cruiser win here and there. I was stoked, but then you'd be getting in the car, me feeling like that's an awesome weekend. And then you got Nelson one Saturday, Ellis one Sunday, or Romero.
And they're pissed they didn't win, and you're like, oh, I got 3rd, I feel happy.
But I learned so much being around those guys, how to win, lose. Danny was, very. I started to enter a room more with Danny, and I learned a lot being around Danny. just from anything from training. He was training with Cully a lot.
Yeah.
So he learned a lot from Cully. I picked up quite a few things from being around Danny, and just listening to them guys talk, and it brings you you had to be confident just being around them guys.
Yeah.
So I annoyed the hell out of them being, the new guy and annoying, probably saying stupid stuff. But for me, it was great. I think about those times traveling with them guys. It was so much fun, and TC and was always there.
Yeah, because TC was your
team manager.
Man, that's a good place to be because he's such a good human being.
Yeah, it was. I love TC. Still great friends with him now. And TC's, when I lived in Huntington Beach, got a couple apartments with Neil Wood, and then Stephen Murray came out. But TC's girlfriend lived across the street from me, and Sam Arellano's girlfriend lived a couple doors away. So I'd always see those guys, around a lot. And TC would always come by and stuff, the department and stuff. And so yeah, it was just great being on that team. I probably took it for granted, thinking when I wasn't on GT, I'm like, oh, it's not quite as. I thought, okay, another team, you realize.
Can I get a set of wheels? No. And
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I just got 5 pair.
Yeah. So you don't realize until you're not on GT how good it was, and then you see what's happening, years later, today, how tough it is for the pros to make a living, for how tough it is for the current guys. And I think GT was magical to be part of that time.
What went down where you weren't with them anymore? Did they cut budgets or?
My contract was up at the end. I think I signed a 2-year, and then I think it would have been 97, 98, and then 19. Whenever my contract was up, TC was going to tell me at the NBL Grands if I was. The same time Ali had came out and was on GT, on top of everybody else, Greg and everybody, and I was always, I knew honestly that Ali was better than me. And he just made such a splash when he came out here. And then, so anyway, TC, I don't know the main reason why that was one of the things, but they had Cortez, Robert DeWild was coming up and just won the Worlds.
Yeah.
So I knew no matter what, it's going to be tough to keep my ride at GT. My last chance was TC was going to tell me after the NBL Grands. And I still don't know if that was my motivation or what, but I ended up having one of my best weekends ever.
Wow.
I won Cruiser and the overall title, and I won AA at the NBL Grands. But even then, I knew that Monday was the day me and TC was going to chat.
Yeah.
And we went out for tacos. I was waiting for him to call me all day, and came to about 5 o'clock. I was like, yes, I'm cold. What's going on? And, you know, and I knew it could have gone either way.
Yeah.
You know, and anyway, he said, look, we got to let you go. And that was it. Yeah, my GT, the tears, you know, the dream of, you know, for me, the first thing was like, okay, I said, what I do remember from that conversation, can I go back and ride for GT in Europe again? He said, well, no, we don't really need you there. And, you know, so they had Robert DeWild that was on the same path as me. Yeah. You know, was probably one of the reasons, maybe. And so, yeah, that was it. GT came to an end.
But you came over with a rainbow jersey, and you left with a full factory ride winning the Grands. Like, that's a little bit of, that's you, and the title. And, you know,
I'm very proud of my own, what happened with GT. Again, it's still not like compared to Danny Nelson or Gary or Charles, any of that. But for me, that I think I did the best I could have done in that. In my era was, every era is hard, but Purse, Levesque, just guys that were smashing out titles, you know. So to grab a couple wins during the year, and my goal was always to be consistent and do good at, you know, World Championships was always my thing. I really focused on, and for me, I was really happy. But in the GT town car, I was mediocre, you know.
But you were. Hey, guess what? You were in the town car. Not many people got in that town car.
Yeah, so. and I think on top of that, and you know, I probably wasn't always a professionalist. You know, there was no training. This is how you speak. This is how you conduct yourself. And so I was probably a lot of things that not bad, but, you know, just my mouth. You know, so I probably want the professionalist in many, you know, many occasions. Maybe that helped or didn't help my case as well, you know. So,
but you were with some of the greatest of
But
all
no,
time.
I was angry and mad, and you know, it was hard for years. Like your hot chick dumped you, you know, and being around those guys still. I go to the next race, and Thomas is there, and TC's there, and Greg, you know, and Danny, and they're still, you know, my friends. But it was tough for a couple of years.
How does that mentally? Where do you go with that? Do you kind of like, I'm gonna prove I can, or you're just chill? You're like, I had this cool ride.
No, I first it's like, can I get another team, or do I just start heading home, you know? And luckily at the time, some guys pulled out from GT some of the, I don't know exactly how it worked, but Nerve started anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
And Gary went on to be the team manager, and Doug Martin became the marketing guy that was in charge of all the sponsorship and stuff. So I started talking to Nerve, and I think it's TC that, you know, probably helped. Seem to remember, like, kind of like
he's that kind of guy.
Yeah, but at the same time, I knew, because me and Danny were close. Danny had just won NBL #1 Pro, and Nerve really wanted Danny, and Danny was using that Nerve negotiation so he could go to GT and say, look, these guys are gonna, you know, Nerve was like the start of the internet. There's a lot of investors and money, and the deals were just the same on par with GT. The contracts and the sponsorship, the continuances. So I always knew that Danny was the main guy they wanted, but there's no way Danny's leaving GT, or they're going to let him go. Yeah. So Danny would say, hey, look, I've talked to Nerve, this is where we're at, numbers-wise, but at the same time, Jason Richardson's trying to get on Nerve, and I think there's some other guys as well, so it wasn't like, I'm definitely #2, and I know Danny's going to stay on GT. So Danny would tell me, look, this is the numbers we're at, this is where, you know, so by the time I went, you know, and then he's like, okay, GT have just gave me what I wanted, you know, thanks for this thing with Nerve. He goes, go do your thing. So I went down and met Doug, and I knew Danny's numbers, so I asked for a little bit less. Nice. And which deservedly slow. He just won the national title, the NBL title. Yeah. And got on Nerve for 2 years. So nice. And again, Gary was probably involved in that as well as team manager. And we had a good thing with Nerve. You know, I helped bring on Stephen Murray. They wanted an up-and-coming dirt jumper, so there's my buddy from England. It could be some potential with him. Stephen came over, and then we picked up Christian Besserine, and then when the Triple Crown thing started to happen, you know, it was no, that's not my thing, you know. And then I think Gary and I'd seen him as well. Like Kyle Bennett could be good for the Triple Crown, downhill stuff. So they picked up Kyle, and then Kyle started winning AA. I'm like, oh man, I'm in. You know, I'm going to be in trouble again. So
it's very interesting the trajectory that you've had.
And Danny, like, me and Danny were still friends, and so Danny had the same thing with Mario Soto on Power coming up. he had Mario Soto coming on power line. I had Kyle Bennett on nerve, and I mean Danny was like, man, we got the same problem. We got the next things coming on our teams that are paid a whole lot less, and they're going to overtake us. And so the nerve thing ended, and this is probably early. I won the Worlds again in 2001, Kentucky on nerve.
I love your style, man. You just always just throw things in that are real. And you're, I love your personality. Then I won Worlds.
Well, I won it was the last year of my nerve contract in Kentucky. I won the Worlds, and then
you're always good. Listen, I found this. You're always good when shit's about to go down. You always go, I'll just win Worlds, or I'll win a title, or that's interesting. You're very good under pressure. You don't even know that.
Yeah, maybe.
Dirty Fest, you're always under pressure. You always come through.
Oh, well, not always. Not always. Not the last turn.
That's true.
Yeah. I won Worlds on nerve. My contract's up. It's funny because Doug, I like Doug. We're friends still now,
I like Doug. I used to work with Doug at GT.
Yeah, he's a great guy, and the week after, I went down to nerve, and he's like, Dale, you got a job here for life, and winked at me. And I was like, oh, cool. I'm gonna get another couple of years out of all this,
Yeah.
I was almost 30 then. Anyway, then like a month later, it's like, hey Dale, I gotta let you go.
No.
So that was always funny. Not funny, but I always remember that. Like, man, you told me I'm got a job for life. You know?
Yeah.
So anyway, I just kind of put a few sponsors together, some co-sponsors. Peter Lusky helped me out with some co-sponsors and stuff, and didn't have a sponsor. Bill at Supercross made me a frame. Yeah.
Nice.
So I rode a Supercross frame for about 6 months. It was enough where co-sponsors were still paying pretty good, early 2000s. And then Peter Lusky helped me get on Free Agent. And then I rode for them for nearly 10 years. So I got kind of I think it's the end. And then I got almost another 10 years out of Free Agent, which was great. And they treated me really well. Yeah, it was great.
And did they go through sales and stuff then? Did they get sold and bought as a company?
No, it was KHS. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
so KHS.
So got on them, still AA, had a couple good years still, even into my 30s on them. Still did pretty good. Got podiums, odd win here and there. And then I started got to start looking for. So I was like, hey, let me help with team managing. I helped him with distributions. I said when the Olympics came in, I said, hey, let me help you set up, a world team. Stuff I learned from GT. They had teams all around the world. It was like I was in the Euro team. There's a UK team, a Dutch team. I said to Free Agent, let's pick up some of these up and coming riders and that might have a chance to go to the Olympics. So that I helped put that together. In the first Olympics, I think we had six riders on Free Agent at the first Olympics, which was pretty good. And then started doing some mountain biking with them. Thought that might help. The more stuff I do, the better. Did some full cross on KHS. Did the team managing with, and then I kind of went full time. Then really in with the team managing. And then I said to him, look, let's bring this guy out that just won the Olympics, which was Marius Stromberg, won it in Beijing. Helped bring Marius out. Let him live with me for a year. And kind of showed him the ropes and helped him.
So you finally gave in to that up and coming guy.
Yeah. So then it's like I think having Marius was here made us all look good as a team. Kyle, Christian Besserin was on the team. We just had
very strong.
Yeah, we had a really good team. Yeah, we got Rockstar, and I helped work with the sponsors and stuff, and introduced the new freestyle program with Heath Pinter and Rockstar. Helped put all that together. With actually Tony D was involved in that as well. So we had a real good program for a long time, and I think that helped keep me stuck around a bit longer. Yeah.
That's a good run.
Yeah.
For 10 years.
I just always looked like what more. Even this is really before the internet, blew up race-wise. Like doing extra, writing newsletters, team reports, do every Monday. When at Free Agent got me my first digital camera, and I would take pictures at on the podium. All stuff that you see now normal, but nobody was doing that then, and I would send it to everybody in KHS and Free Agent every Monday, pictures. I'd do a race report.
Wow. So
everybody within the grassroots programs and teams and distributions around the world just know what's going on, and I think, like I said, I think it gave me a little bit more value.
You were an influencer before influencers.
Well, I don't think I was influenced, but I was very badly spelled race reports, I think, and foggy pictures with those early cameras,
Yeah. So you have amazing history, and your projects are amazing. We can talk about the Hall of Fame next that you're an organizer of, or we talk about this wonderful, beautiful camp that you do. So we're going to talk about both, because I love the ideas and the concepts behind all of them. So what should I speak about next? The summer camps, or where you want to hit the Hall of Fame?
Do the Hall of Fame if you want.
Okay. Yeah. So tell us, those that don't know, your exact precise what you're the organizer?
No, one of them, yeah.
One of
Basically, we, living here in San Diego, we got to experience over the years coming down here to when they used to do it down in Chula Vista, the USA BMX National Hall of Fame. Just coming down there, my friend Andy Ruffle, who was living in the States or lives in the States, I'm not sure where does Andy Ruffle live? Anybody know? But anyway, so me and Ruffle would always, get into the drunken conversation down at Chula Vista at Hall of Fame, like we need to do this in England, and we'd go on Facebook and tell everybody we're going to do this, and we didn't do it.
Right.
We'd always get a good buzz, just like always say we're going to do it, and we didn't. And then anyway, eventually we did. It was myself, Ruffles, Mike Wong, a couple of guys from England, Darren O'Neill, a whole lot of people in the background. Like, let's do this. And we did our first one in 22 in Birmingham. We hired out a venue and had our first British BMX Hall of Fame. It was amazing, better than we thought, almost like too good for the first one, It's like it's been hard to like replicate the first one. And so we did an event in 22, 23. Last year, it was just so hard. Me living here as well. Ruffle kind of stepped back from it. And one of the other organizers, Mike, that did a hell of a lot of stuff for us in the background. So we decided last year we just did it online. We just kind of awarded, kind of put it out there online who went in. We really want to have an event this year, but this time of year already, it's looking tough. We're going to have another event. My initial thoughts is put a load of people in this year again online, just catch up, because we've only started 22, a hell of a lot of catching up to do 40 years history.
So here's a little, I'd like to interject here for a second. So we did ours and we put in a lot of people. We get flack for that, but you have to, and still people complain they didn't get it, right? But I wanted to get this big first initial push so the whole generation could be in, and we could get a lot. I don't have a problem putting in the early pioneers. There's so many. And, but this year we're also, newsflash, we're also moving ours from September to spring.
Okay.
Because, like you said, here we are, and you're like, oh man, I want to build it bigger and better, and we have a cool venue in mind and stuff now. So we're going to push ours to. Newsflash, the New Jersey BMX Hall of Fame will not be September 27th. It's going to be moving on to the spring. So.
Will you still induct people this year?
Yeah.
Okay. Because that's what
I like your online thing. That's pretty.
That's
cool.
what I think we can get a lot of people. Like I say, if you just do 1 or 2 people every year, it's impossible. Unfortunately, people are dying.
Yes.
As we all know.
Well, and there's other things. There's other business things where you have to have some people to have an event.
Yeah.
More on that later. But so we're going to do it again. But I want to be able to get things different, just a little bit different, to make it bigger and better. Like you said, the first one you're like, woo, and then you go, oh shit, we got to make that one bigger, better. And then I like the path.
It's hard, and to get the right people. Loads of people have said they want to help in that, but for me, it's hard to do anything living in the States. I love doing the social media, updating the website and stuff, because I'm a nerd. I love history stuff. I love US history, obviously, and I feel like if we don't do the British history now, we're starting to lose it, because the people that started it and that are all our parents' age, and unfortunately, they're all gone. And so I feel this year might be a good year to really catch up on that, and then hopefully have an event in spring next year. But like I say, I'm so involved in my summer camps. I just go all in. We're wrapping up in a couple of days, but I've just done 8 months basically. I did two weeks of non-stop schools, and then I've just done 6 weeks of summer camp here, and I can't think of anything else. It's like racing. It's like eat, sleep, go home, and we're here at 6:30 every morning, and it's a hard day, but I love it. But anyway, I haven't had time to really think of Hall of Fame. I'm going to go back to England next week, and then hopefully chat with the guys, and then we'll come up with a plan and have something, if not the end of this year, definitely early next year, I hope.
Cool. I'm interested. We're going to talk.
I like talking to you. I mean, you give me lots of good ideas as well, and I go back and tell my guys. I love to see all these different Hall of Fames. I've just been obviously paying attention to the one in Florida. I mean, they put a lot of people in to start with, which you kind of need to catch up.
Well, there's a whole philosophy behind it. I have my philosophy. I feel very strongly about. Other people have their philosophy, so they you go back and forth with each other. And I got my philosophies. You can always reach out to me at bmxlegendsforever@yahoo.com if you want to talk philosophies on who goes in, how many, all that. You're going to run out of people. No, we're not.
No. That's one thing you're not.
Yeah, exactly. I've been told you're going to run out of people. No, we won't. Anyway, the camp. I love the camp. I pulled up today, punctual, of course. I'm always on time. Thank you for noticing that, Dale. And I just like...
You told me on text, you told me a few weeks ago, hey, I'm going to come up to camp. Okay, cool. Then you texted me a few days ago, going to be there at 12 o'clock on Wednesday. Okay, cool. This was like Monday or Sunday. I'm like, cool. Then I get a text last night. I'll be there tomorrow at 12 o'clock from LA, which is, 3 hours, right?
Sure.
At 12:01, I'm sitting here eating lunch. 12:01, you rolled in. I said to my, guy that helps me, Ryland here. I'm like, oh my God, punctual or what? Which I love that stuff. That's why I like Ryland. The husband of the camp is just always on time. He's always early.
Like, I don't know what that is.
I love it. Anyway,
I worked at FedEx.
You kept your word.
Barry Nelson checking in, loving to death the buckle.
Oh yeah, belt buckle, teammate.
So, talk to me about the camp, man. The kids are all running around here. I love it. It's BMX. It's not video games. It's BMX, and kids are on bikes.
It's great. Yeah. I've been doing it now. I think without looking, 12, 13, 14 years. It's initially started with the YMCA's in San Diego. My wife was doing. They got horses, and they were doing a horse camp back then through their organization, the Toby Wells Foundation. And my wife said, "Hey, this might work for BMX, where the kids bus into your place and whatever you do, whatever sport, whether that's surf camp or the skate park, and it's like, let's come up with something for BMX." So anyway, we started that after Free Agent ended, so about 2013-ish, 2013 or 14 was our first year, and we've just been building it ever since. The YMCA kids, we have deals with all the YMCA's in San Diego, a lot of them. They bus them in for the week. They'll bring them here at 9 o'clock. I hire the track here from Tyler Brown, San Diego BMX, and have camp 5 days a week with the same YMCA. They bus them out at 3 o'clock every day.
Wow.
Bring in staff to help. I bring in my staff.
That's a good organization.
And we've been doing that. But then when COVID hit, the YMCA's are like, hey, we can't bus the kids anymore. It's over. It's done. But at the same time, we kept building our database, emails and
emails is your list.
And sending out social media blasts and stuff. So we reached out to everybody, like, hey, we're thinking of doing this without the YMCA. Would you guys be interested? Obviously, it was COVID. Everybody was outside riding bikes. The BMX was still open. So camp really blew up then. Started getting 50, 60. Went from 10, 12, 14, 15 kids a week at the start to, during COVID, it got to, 50, 60, 70 kids during COVID. The YMCA's came back a couple of years ago, and it continues to grow, or it continued to grow. And then I thought last year it's got to pop and go down a little bit. And just had the best year again of and this is with my regulars coming in and the YMCA. So we've learned now, and working with Tyler, how to juggle both. It's a lot of work. Last week we had our biggest camp to date, 80 kids. That's 50 YMCA kids, 30 of my regulars coming in.
That's 80 kids not playing video games.
Yeah. And so anyway, this is our last week. We got 35 this week. The YMCA's already, they're done for the year. So I got 35 of my regular kids, or some new guys as well this week.
Are you seeing anybody you think could go on to greatness?
I got one kid that came from my camp that's at the Worlds now. He's raced.
Wow.
Gus, he came during COVID and discovered BMX and has made, leaps and bounds every year. It's his second Worlds. And a lot of these kids, my camps are grassroots, basic, fun, foot down, giveaways. We're not talking training or hill times or clips or nothing, just fun. And that's why
we're not talking clips. That's like a new T-shirt.
And then just and that makes it fun with me. I chase the kids around. We put this year, last couple of years, we put the GoPro on and racing and doing videos and giving the parents.
I saw that.
Little videos to the parents. They like that. Just fun camp stuff. And for the ones that do, we invite all the parents the last day of camp on Friday to come and watch the kids. We have little fun races. And then Tyler Brown comes over and obviously promotes the track, tells everybody he's doing stuff here all the time, coaching, clinics, beginner league. And so for the ones that want to get right back on it, then Tyler is your man,
That's cool.
And a lot of my guys plug into Tyler, and then, a lot of my guys are now on Tyler's team or, on the circuit. And I've got some kids that just come back to camp every year, and you don't see them in between much of the
you
track.
were saying their bikes just stay the same.
They bring, some of them bring their own bikes, and I know it's the same bike that they probably got from me a couple of years ago, and had no work done to it. But they just come, for some reason, they just come and do a couple of weeks of camp, and then see you again next year.
That's amazing.
We never see them at the track since, but a lot do carry on, and like I say, normally then they move on to Tyler, and they do still, go to the next level with Tyler. which is great. So we have, it keeps me in a good relationship, a good partnership with Tyler, and we can grow this together.
Danny Pena, what's up? We're not talking clips. Yep,
Yeah.
you got it, Danny.
What's up, Danny? I like his YouTube.
Yeah, it's
always,
good. We're all magazine freaks, Danny.
Yeah,
so when we see you going through those magazines, we get shivers.
And the BMX Expert podcast.
Yep.
Yeah, I've been listening to them. And Danny and gentleman that does that, pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, maybe I was on there a couple times.
Yeah.
They're funny guys. I pitted next to them at Dirty Fest.
That was it. Those guys were there, weren't they? Yeah.
All right. Well, anything else? What's in the future for you, sir?
I have to say, every year at camp, I'm like, man, okay, that's it. No one's going to come to camp again.
Yeah.
I always say that like around this time. I don't know. It's 54 this year. Stay healthy,
Still
like
young.
all of us. Still ride my bike for fun. Do a couple of state races, Dirty Fest.
Yeah.
Maybe Frogtown.
Oh. Okay. Frogtown's doing modern this year. I'm excited.
Oh, I didn't look at all the classes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got my modern mongoose. I'm ready to meet.
Yeah.
If I don't have to work, I'm up there.
You see, I want to talk about the Frogtown and Dirty Fest, and I've never been into the old bike thing. I'm a magazine guy. I me and you talk magazines. We just talked about Charlie Williams and Nashville with Daryl Young. That's the way we started when you rolled in here.
Yeah.
I was a magazine guy, but I'm not really, and I respect all those guys. I've got a lot of friends. I'm not a collector. I'm not, I don't know show bikes and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so I think it's always hard for the. You reading that?
Yeah, no, go ahead. I just always check in and make sure everybody gets a shout out. Should try John Dye and the Hastings crew.
That's UK probably.
Yeah.
And so I always think, and I mentioned a little bit to Mike, I don't like to be like, hey, this is what you should do, guy, because you get sick of people that say they do it.
Sure, everybody's got an opinion.
Yeah, so
But
I do think, I think this year at Dirty Fest, which was really fun, and it's definitely grown, and a lot of new young kids racing, which is cool. But
Danny Redmax.
Yeah, Danny Redmax. Yeah, he's I just saw he got third at the Worlds. That's pretty cool.
Sick.
I still think I'm lucky. There's GT George that lets me borrow his bikes, but I didn't use it this year. I says to Mike, can I get in the cruiser class? This retro thing on my bike. I don't want to keep asking George to borrow his bike. And it's not that I'm a tight ass. I'm not into building a collector bike up.
And you have nothing from your past.
Yeah, not really. No. And so I think they need to fine tune the classes a little bit, which I think they have with that Repop class that we raced cruiser this year. To get more new kids in, because not all. If I'm struggling to want to buy it, again, it's not because of money. It's because I'm not interested in building a bike. I don't think the newer school guys are really not going to be. So I think you need to open the door a little bit, like maybe what you just said about Huff opening a new regular bike class to get more people to come to these events. Because
and I did the weirdest thing ever. I did Dirty Fest. Went to Frogtown Dirty Fest every year, but just as a fan and as a take photos, and I got to do all my website stuff. But I went and I see I'm at a race, and I did have a great time.
You did good.
Turned me, thank you.
Yes.
God. All you guys are amazing. I got a story, but it's not for this time. But it made me want to do modern.
Yeah.
So isn't that weird how a vintage race, a guy that's 58, would now turn into, hey, I'm just going to do it all the time. It's fun.
Yeah. I'm following you with the trophy pictures and stuff on little race reports.
You're always kind to me. I appreciate that. Yeah, more people said, hey, you look pretty quick at Dirty Fest in my entire career. So I go, maybe I'm just blossoming a little later.
Racing's fun. I raced a lot of classes when I didn't this year, but I've raced a lot of classes. I love racing. I don't need to win. I just want to feel good on my bike, second, third, no problem.
Feeling good for Dale Holmes is crushing, is what that is.
But
What's up, Jason? How are you?
But I like to feel good on a good bike, and I don't think on a little 80, a GT Mach 1 from 85 is. Yeah. And I also, them things, it's just a matter of time till they break. We see it,
Yeah, and I had some stuff on my bike that was 26, 27 years old. I'm like, is a 27-year-old handlebar safe? Yeah. Probably not.
And that's why I stopped. George has been really good. He's a great mid-school bike I've been using, GT, but I'm like, I got to just stop riding his bike before I break it, before I get hurt, before he's really a big GT collector, before I ruin his bike.
His collection. It's nice.
Amazing what he's got, and our generous has been let me use his bike. But I think I said to Mike in a text, I said, like in San Diego, we have a big older crowd, 40 and overs that race regular state odd nationals. I'm like, I talked to them. These guys would go up there, but they're not going to buy a bike because they're not that. They want to race,
Yeah.
but they're not going to invest in a bike from the 80s or 90s.
Yeah, you
know?
either acquire it, like, you
Yeah.
know, I had my S&M because that was my roots, and you acquire your stuff. Oh, I got some parts here, but yeah, to go purchase. Well, 805 Bicycles in CB sells vintage bicycles complete, all done up. So you could literally, I don't know any other shop that does that, and Nick over there is amazing.
I didn't know that,
yeah, if you go to 805 Bikes at the Simi Valley Town Center.
What brands?
Everything. Robinson's, GTs.
So how much does those things cost?
How much does they usually cost?
If I want to roll in and buy one, is it
like $300 to $500 maybe?
Okay.
So I'll take you over there. Nick's nice.
Yeah.
No, but I'm saying anybody out there listening, you can go buy vintage bikes complete. Nick has them at 805 Bikes.
But I don't think if they're not into it, they're not going to do it for one weekend.
Correct.
But these guys, like, there's a good, I don't know, there's got to be at least 15 to 20 40 Novas that come down here regular at the track. Probably even more. But not enough where they're going to buy a bike and go there. They're just going to do a state race instead, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think we've got to encourage some of these guys to come over to keep it growing, you know? And obviously these young kids coming in, your Danny Redmegs, more of those guys, you know? Because I love it. It's such a, I mean, we all love those events, you know?
Yeah, no, I started the Hall of Fame and everything because I was like, I want to feel those feelings again. Like how do we get those? Because people talk about 35th of Rock.
And it's not even about racing. It's about all the talking and your friendship and the meeting people and
going 5 feet and running into someone you haven't seen.
And I love it as a British fan of American. You know, I talked to Danny Milwee. I talked to Danny Milwee. I think he was coming in as I came to the US in the 90s. I spoke to him a few times at Sheep Hills, early 90s. But he was another guy that was inspired. I was on a Powerlight UK team. He was the Powerlight guy in the US with a real Echo. I had the painted job, that some guy did. So like I got to talk to Danny Milwee at the last one, and I was like, man, I had pictures of him and everything, you know.
It's awesome. Well, great talking to you. You're amazing, Dale Holmes.
Thank you, John. I appreciate you guys coming out.
It's no problem. You do so much for BMX, man. I love your stories.
Oh, you too, man. It's just like everyone just do your little bit, you know, and you're doing your little bit, you know, and I love the old school scene now. Like I say, it's like I'm losing, maybe that's just age, more interest in current, like it's the Worlds. Obviously I'm going to tune into the Worlds this week, but
I watched it on the way down.
Yeah, but I'm not as excited as I have been in the last 10 years watching the Worlds, you know, because we have our own thing now as older guys, you know. It's like we've got British Hall of Fame stuff, which I love being part of, and then all this, you know, riding out at the local track with older guys, people my age, and it's all about the friendships and the, you know, everyone just doing their own little bit, give back a little bit, you know.
And BMX people are always, and they're always just cool people.
I've
done other sports, given my life to other sports too, and there's just the BMX people just always, hey, it's been 30 years, how are you doing?
Yeah, you just get right into it.
Yeah, and it's really cool, and they're always like that. And there's always that youthfulness, and everyone's still like a little kid. It's awesome. So.
Yeah.
All right, good times. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Who you said you're coming back down in a couple of days. You said you might get a couple of guys.
Yeah, no, I don't want to say just yet because if they fall through, you guys will yell at me. I thought you said you're having this.
I like the Hayden one. That was good.
Hayden was good. That's your favorite one.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
The master.
Yeah.
So, Eric, thanks for tuning in, everybody. I'm going to post this up on YouTube when I get done working my normal job. But thanks for tuning in. Awesome. And hey, if you need anything, get a hold of Dale. Where can people reach you or follow you at?
Well, normal just go as me is Dale Holmes Racing. But if you want to check out the British BMX Hall of Fame stuff, we do BritishBMXHallOfFame.com and then British BMX Hall of Fame. Facebook, we've got a good Facebook page that we update. I update a lot, and we have Instagram, same thing. And you can check out our British little history, you know, inspired by you guys.
Amazing.
You know? Yeah.
And if you show up at a vintage race, he's going to smoke you, guarantee it.
No,
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Dale. Talk to you later.
Cheers.
Get out and ride.